Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Am I actually on camera today?
We are right off the bat too. So
What brilliance.
yeah, I know. Do
Our
this enough, I might figure
production.
it out. So I watched what we did last week and saw that we ended, well, before all the chaos, right as you
Yeah,
finished talking about your Doug Varty band and your oh shoot, Bush Doctors band.
that's right.
That's where we ended before all the chaos. So I thought
Before
we
the
talk about
movement
today
happened.
is all the stuff you've been doing since then, the Rod Stewart, the Bryan Adams, the Beatles in blue. Um, so I kind of where you want to start in that piece there.
Well, let's see. Tell me again where we left off.
Well, the stuff that's on the video we finished right after you talked about Bush Doctors kind of falling apart based on the time frame and so
Right.
forth.
Okay. Well, I can pick it up from there. Um, so yeah, the Bush Doctors, that was I don't know if I need to really talk about it a lot, but it was personally really, really hard for me to see that die. I really went through a big depression for about a year and just could barely dig myself out of it. Enough said about that, but it was hard. I think because I had really set a lot of hopes and dreams on the being a pretty big record deal with a real great producer, and it was a very good record. It just wasn't interesting anybody at the time. It wasn't the right product for the record companies at that time. So, the wheels fell off, and that's that.
I kind of see
And I,
that with timing in a lot of the bands I've researched is it's all about timing and
well,
so forth.
yeah, and I think the other thing is what you might call determination or stick-to-itiveness. Uh, you know, I I wasn't prepared to go the distance to continue on. At whatever financial or time cost it was going to be for me because I had a young family. I wanted to be home. I wanted to earn a living for my family like immediately. It wasn't like I could go, well, a year and a half or 2 years from now, I'll be making some real bucks. I wasn't in a position to wait that long. Plus, I felt that it would just like playing music all the time and being out all the time is enough of a drag on a family. And I felt that my family had paid enough of a price and was going to probably continue to pay enough of a price just to have me doing what I do. So I thought I just can't continue on with the dream of going out there and working it hard. And I think that's what it takes for an artist to make an impact in the business. And sometimes it still falls flat. But I wasn't mentally there. I wasn't going to go that distance. But I think that is often what it takes for a person or for an act to really get that far. And I think record companies probably saw that. They said, well, this guy isn't going to give it, 101% to whatever this project is. He's just going to, do his best and leave it there. So I'm okay with all of that. That's fine now. It really crushed me to not be able to do it, but I guess that's enough said of all of that.
When it's all
Um,
said and done, though, that leads you to where you went next in your other works.
well, it helped me to realize who I was and what my real aspirations in life were. That I had other things that were important to me um, beyond just trying to make it in the record business. And the record business didn't last a whole lot longer than that anyway. So maybe I was lucky. Anyway, from there, I just started working with one of the guys who was in the last version of the Bush Doctors, a guy named Jeff Dahl. We worked around in pubs as a duo for about a year and a half and just kind of gigged around and earned money playing covers, working as a duo. And that was fun in its own way, but I got tired of it. And there was a fair bit of like back and forth Toronto and back, like 2, 3 hour drives to go and do just pub type gigs. There was no gain beyond just getting paid every night. So I was offered a gig playing in a blues band in London at a bar called Old Chicago's. And that was a 5 night a week gig with a blues band where they had a guest who would usually come in from out of town, like from Detroit or Toronto or Montreal or Chicago. And that sounded like a really fun thing to do. So that is what I did. And I ended up being in the Old Chicago Blues Band for a total of 9 years. I worked at Old Chicago's, and I was I was home every night, albeit late after the kids had gone to bed and everything else, but I was around, to take them to school and to be a part of our home life. And that was really important to me. In the course of doing that, I met a lot of really cool people. I worked with a lot of really good artists. And we made 3 albums. We made one with a really cool guy called Chicago Pete, who is now deceased, but was a guy from Chicago who had worked with a lot of people like Muddy Waters and B.B. King and all that kind of thing. And he had his own thing going on. He came up and guested with us enough times that he wanted to make a record with us. So we did make a record with Pete. And then the Old Chicago Blues Band did 2 of their own albums on their own label or whatever. And we got out and played around, opened for other acts like the Fabulous Thunderbirds and people of that note. People from like Chuck Jackson from the Downchild Blues Band would come in as a guest with us sometimes on the weekends. So, we had a pretty good thing going on for quite a while.
And those 2 blues albums that you record as a band, were they covers of other blues songs or they were your own originals?
There were some originals in there. The first album, I don't think there were any of our own originals in it. And we had some of the guests who were our Old Chicago's people sang some of the songs. I sang a couple on that album. The second album, there was more original material, and I think I probably had 3 or maybe 4 original songs on that album. And then we did other covers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was a lot of fun. It was a neat band to be in.
I don't know if it's because I'm older now or not, but I've been to jazz shows and blues shows and rock and country and rap because of my son. But I
Yeah.
found that blues are the ones that I can just stay at forever. Yeah.
Well,
So
it
that's
doesn't wear you down quite as much sometimes, unless everything is a 12-bar blues, then it gets a little boring. But there's a lot of really interesting things going on with blues musicians. It's a little bit jazzy, it's a little bit rocky. It's kind of got that nice blend of everything. And really, the more you study the blues, you see how much came out of that that became rock and roll. And the wedding of country music and blues really became rock and roll for sure. There's a lot of depth to it, and I grew up in my very first, like, my basement bands, and that the whole British blues thing was exploding, and so we were always kind of into the blues anyway. So to get back to doing it on a regular basis and to be playing guitar by then on a full-time basis, it was really good for me. I learned a lot. I had a good time doing it. Yeah.
well, and that when I listened to move to Beatles and Blue, as I
Yeah.
listened to some of the tracks on that, you have quite the variety of voice. And we talk a little later about the other bands you've been a part of, but you have that ZZ Top sound and like a couple of like Strawberry Fields Forever and Birthday, both have
Yeah.
that Gibbons sound that you can pull off really well. And
Oh,
then
thanks.
Yesterday was a very different style of song vocally. And yet, what I found interesting, I mentioned this on the part we don't see because of the last video, but I don't like covers unless they are not direct covers. And what you did with Beatles and Blue is fascinating because you took some of the greatest songs of all time and made them your own without losing the essence of the songs. So tell me a bit about Beatles and Blue.
I will. Beatles and Blue is a project that just kind of came out of the blue, if you want. There was a Beatles festival in London that ran for a couple of years, and they wanted to have local artists. And they asked us to ask me and some other local artists if we would play some Beatles songs at the Beatles festival. And I said, well, I don't really do Beatles songs in general. I like them, but I, don't do them. And they said, well, can you just do some your own way? So I thought for a few minutes about what would be my way. And so I realized that they would be kind of bluesy and, so I did that, and it went over great. And the band had a lot of fun playing the Beatles and Blue arrangements that I'd come up with. And basically, that's how it started. And we just kept growing it. We've got like 2 hours worth of material that we do now. And the band's been through a number of changes. We started as a four-piece with myself playing guitar and keys and another full-time guitar player, bass and drums. And then we kind of grew to, we added two horns, which was really neat. We had two sax players in the band, baritone and tenor. And that was really an interesting progression. And from there, we went to being a trio. I went and worked doing the Beatles and Blue thing with a couple of different guys in Europe. And I thought, wow, this is kind of fun because everything changes around. I play piano and organ and harmonica and mandolin and guitar. And by doing all those things in a trio, it seemed to keep things fairly interesting. Like it wasn't just three guys banging away on the same instruments for a couple of hours, So I thought, well, maybe this will work out. So we went back to doing that. We did that for quite a while. Then I thought, well, we could probably use another guitarist. So we had a great guy come and play with us for a while, Ian McNally. But since this summer, I've kind of got back into the whole trio thing. So I would say going forward, we're most likely to stay as a trio with maybe a special guest here and there. But we're still out there working, and people get a real charge out of hearing some of their favorite songs just in a different way. And I think that we're lucky to be doing them in ways that people think are interesting, because I'm sure there are Beatle fans out there that would go, you've ruined the Beatles for me. But I hope that it's seen more as playful and fun and just, like an appreciation of how good those songs are. Because you could do an awful lot of different things to those really excellent, solid, well-written songs and have them come out sounding good, So hopefully that's what we've done.
Yeah, that's what I find interesting because I've heard lots of covers, like Yesterday's been covered 8 trillion times. And yet, when I hear your version of it, it feels fresh. And I
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really, I hope if people watch this, they go and listen to this album that you made called Beatles in Blue, which on YouTube, or not YouTube, on Apple Music, try a third time. I see it's called Dave Varty in Blue.
Yeah. Doug Varty,
Doug Varty. Ah,
It's okay. I get Dave all the time. I don't know why, but that's how it is. Yeah, for some reason, all the streaming services wouldn't allow me to say Beatles in the title. I paid, the correct royalties and everything for the use of the songs, but I don't know. You know what it is. It's like trying to fight Facebook or something. You're just talking to a robot somewhere. So I've just figured rather than go through a long extended battle with a faceless whatever, I thought I'll just change the title and I'm going to call it Doug Varty ... in Blue. So that's what it is. If anybody wants to find it, that's what you'll see.
yeah. And so I was on your website again today, and I see that it says on your website a second album is in the works.
It is in the works. There's nothing definite happening with it right now, but it's entirely possible we'll be done it by the end of this year, and then it'll be out early next year. The one thing I'm finding about albums right now is maybe that's not as important for a lot of people. Maybe just to be releasing songs and having them out in the world on streaming services and social media might be the better way to go, and release one a month or whatever. So that may be the way we'll do it, and just say that there is an album, but who really needs it? I don't know. But
Well,
anyway,
it's funny you say that because I really like Night Ranger, and
oh, yeah.
there's a whole piece on them about how they release a couple singles before the album comes out. There's a bunch of hype. The album
Yeah,
comes out, a third single is released, and then a month later, nobody remembers the album exists anymore. That's the music industry we live in now. So your
it
idea
is.
of a single every month or two, I think, is a smarter PR move based on how the music industry is today.
Well, thanks. I think I just got those ideas from other people who've said the same thing, that you're right. Like it's hard to stay in the minds of anybody if you haven't got something going on a regular basis. And I find that with Beatles and Blue now, like the album is about a year and a half old, and people go, "Oh, what are you guys doing now? Are you still playing? Are you still together, etc." Well, of course, we're out there, but if you're not maintaining a presence all the time, it's a thing that you need to do.
For sure. And I have to ask because to me, the Beatles' most bluesy song is While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Is that one you
Yeah.
guys have done?
Yes, we do, and we do an interesting sort of a reggae style arrangement of it.
Oh, really?
It's cool. Yeah, it's not a sleepy reggae version though. It's very insistent. So it's cool, and it's got lots of guitar in it.
Well, that's fun. That's probably the one song I'd be curious to hear how you guys do it. I mean, ever since Prince, I don't know if you saw Prince do it live back in some award show.
Yeah.
Um, he spun that song on his head, and it's just one of those ones that could be interpreted so many ways.
Oh yeah,
So
it's a beautiful song. Like so many of those Beatles songs, they're all so terrifically well put together. They're really really great songs. Kind of bulletproof in a way. It'd be hard to wreck them, I think.
yeah, yeah. If you're a quality musician who understands where the music starts from, I think you can do lots with it.
Yeah.
And you have on this first album. So you talked briefly last time, but we lost that part on the video about your Rod Stewart experience and how
Oh yeah.
that's actually been really successful for you and in traveling and so forth.
It has really when I started getting out of playing in the blues band. One of the guys who was in the blues band, he and his brother started working as a Blues Brothers tribute. Was in the late '90s when not everybody was doing a tribute at that point, and they're still working today. They're great. They're really really good, and they're actual brothers, which makes it kind of interesting. Um, and they were working all across Canada and into the States and that. And I previously, backing up a little bit, when I played with one of the guys, Jeff Dahl, the guy that I was in a duo with, uh, Jeff and I have a long history. Jeff was in the last version of the Blues Brothers. Then he played, then he and I did the duo together. And then he came into the old Chicago Blues Band about halfway through. And towards the end of the old Chicago Blues Band, he and his brothers started doing this Blues Brothers tribute. When we were working as a duo, we used to do one Rod Stewart song, and people would always say, "Are you lip syncing that? Is that a record?" And I go, "No, I'm just singing it." And so once these guys were working as the Blues Brothers, like around 1998, I guess it was, they were on a tour and they had a Rod Stewart guy on the show that they weren't happy with at all. He just wasn't doing what they wanted them to do. Everybody else they thought was really good, but this one guy wasn't quite measuring up. So they said, "Well, why don't you come out and do it?" And I said, "Man, I've never done anything like that. I sing and play the guitar." They said, "But you can sound like him, and I'm sure you could get the look." So I thought, well, why not? To be fun. I've always thought Rod Stewart was kind of a cool, flamboyant frontman, which is something I'm not really. I'm a fun guy or whatever, but I'm not flamboyant like a Mick Jagger or a Rod Stewart. Anyway, so I did. I got a wig and I got some flashy outfits and I started working and it started to really, the wheels turned. And I've been doing it now since 1998.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been a great gig. I've been a lot of places. I've been in Mexico, the Bahamas, Cayman Islands, Las Vegas, New York City, Chicago. I've been all across Canada into the Yukon, into Iqaluit up north in Nunavut. I've been in Germany, Holland. It's taken me a lot of places, and it really is a fun thing for me to do. I love to sing those songs, and it's kind of like the other personality that I didn't know I had of, being this flamboyant kind of outgoing, nutty frontman thing, and I love it. Yeah, and plus I get to have hair.
Yeah. So when you put on the wig and the outfits, does it make you more outgoing in that scenario?
Uh, I guess in a way, like it equips you to put that personality on where you feel like, well, this is what you need to do if you're going to be a Rod Stewart tribute guy. Like you can't do it if you're just in a jeans and a t-shirt and a baseball cap. It's nobody's going to be convinced that you're a Rod Stewart guy if they see that. But once you're dressed up and the band is right and I like a lot of times we work theaters and that, like, so the shows are good and well presented. So when you show up in a situation like that, it becomes a more believable thing. It's kind of, my wife always says, it's like being an actor. And it is, you become, as much as you can, you become that character. Whether I don't feel like I'm being Rod Stewart, but I'm being my version of Rod Stewart, if you want to put it that way. And it's a lot of fun. I really have a good time doing it.
Is there a Rod Stewart song you like the best that you perform?
There used to be one in particular, and I still love it, called Lost in You. And that's the one that I used to do with the duo way back in the early 90s that, kind of got people to think that I was lip syncing it. There's a lot of great songs. My favorite era of Rod Stewart is the early stuff, like the Jeff Beck Group and the Faces. Wow. And the early Rod Stewart albums. That for me was the most fun and rootsy, and I love his rock and roll attitude back then. Though in the show that I do, it's all Rod Stewart's hits. So I don't get to do a lot of those older things, like I wouldn't do, say, I Ain't Superstitious from the Jeff Beck album, or I wouldn't do I'm Losing You or something like that from an early Rod Stewart album. Maggie May, You Wear It Well, Do You Think I'm Sexy, Have I Told You Lately That I Love You, Some Guys Have All the Luck. All those songs are the ones that I sing in my show. But really, I'm kind of surprised. I don't get tired of singing those songs. I think Rod Stewart really does have a great sense of what makes a great song and what's a good song to sing. So, I just go along with his judgment.
It's funny you say that because I saw him in 1989 in Saskatoon, where I
Yeah.
waited out all night to buy tickets the old days, right?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was such a storyteller back then.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, my favorite Rod Stewart song is not a big hit of his, but it's from '89, and it's called "Crazy About Her."
Oh,
It's a
I know
really
that one. Yeah.
bluesy,
It's a little bit
jazzy
like
type
Miss
song.
You, isn't it? Is it a little bit like Miss You?
Yeah, it is a little bit like
Crazy.
that. Yeah, yeah. It
Crazy.
didn't do
Yeah.
as well, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But so on that note, I see as I was looking at your website, you've performed with a lot of amazing people over the time. You talk
I,
about Roy Orbison and
yeah.
Jeff Healey. Are there any? I love Jeff Healey's music. He was his blues, and they could do a whole jazz album. Like his ability to shift genres was amazing. But is there any
Really,
stories on the
really.
road about people you've worked with that just linger
Well,
still?
one guy we worked with a lot was Del Shannon. When I was in the band Lowdown, we actually were Del Shannon's backup band for a number of dates. The first time we gigged with him was here in London, and it was for a show. We were opening for the Beach Boys, and it was at an outdoor stadium. There's 15,000 people there, and it was pretty cool. I was playing guitar and keyboards then, and I got to play the organ solo for "Runaway," which
Oh
was
wow,
really cool.
yeah.
That's a classic. So we had a lot of fun working with Del, and he was quite a character. On that show was also this other guy who had a couple of hit records. It was just coming up, named John Cougar. You may have
No,
heard of, yeah.
you've heard of him.
And he was out touring with Heart as the opening act with Heart. And the story that I heard was that the promoter wasn't seeing enough tickets being sold on the Del Shannon Beach Boys show. And he was looking around for another act to put on the show that had some, hits of the moment. So he saw John Cougar, John Mellencamp, was available. Wasn't working that night of the tour. And so hired him on the gig. When we started the show, we did our set, and at the end of our set, the John Cougar band starts playing. And the only hit, I think, was Hurts So Good, was maybe the only hit that they had right then. But that album was doing really well as well. Anyway, and John Cougar comes out riding on the bass player's back on his shoulders, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, wearing a leather jacket, and a Harley Davidson t-shirt. And they do 30 Days in the Hole by Humble Pie as their opening song. And the first thing he says, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing on a goddamn Beach Boys show." Some kind of a Twinkie setup, he says, So he was really pissed off because he felt he had been the ringer to sell lots of tickets on this show, but he wasn't getting paid a lot. He thought he was the big draw, and he was pissed off about everything that day, and maybe with lots of good reasons, I don't know, but he was really having a tantrum, and he only played about 15 or 20 minutes, and did a lot of swearing and stuff, and there's moms and dads in the crowd waiting for the Beach Boys to come on, and at the end of his set, he grabbed the rental drum kit and threw it out into the crowd.
Jeez.
People were dodging cymbals and grabbing toms and whatnot. And the band was kind of going, "Oh, what the hell?" They weren't really ready for what was going on. And then he stormed off the stage. And I remember Del Shannon saying, "Oh, that guy's not going to last a year. He's worn out already. He's burned out," which is pretty funny because obviously he made it through. He's still going strong, but
he's still an angry man.
No, yeah, he is. He's a guy with an attitude. Yeah. After the show, they had rented a private plane or somehow got their own. I think it was just like a private plane, flew them into London, and they were going to fly out in the morning. So they went back to the airport in whatever transportation they had and said, "We're going to leave now. This sucks. We're getting out of here." Right. Well, I guess this is all John Cougar saying this. And so they called the pilot at the hotel and said, "Come on, we're leaving now." And the pilot said, "I can't fly you guys. I've had a couple of drinks and I'm not legally allowed to fly for the next 6 or 8 hours." Right. So they sat in whatever vehicle they were in on the tarmac at the airport, waiting for the exact moment for the pilot to show up in a legally sober enough position to fly them out.
Wow.
It was all pretty funny. And he swore he was going to come back and that the promoter was going to rip them off. Or the promoter was ripping them off because they weren't seeing a real John Cougar show. So the promoter in London was the only big promoter around. And he effectively blocked every effort by John Cougar to come back and do a show because on stage Cougar had said, "You're not seeing a real show. I'm going to come back and do a free show for you guys, in London, and you'll see what it's really like." And just because he pissed the promoter off, he never got a chance to do it. He ended up doing a club of about playing just in a bar for a special event where a radio station gave away tickets or something to about 150 people, and that was the most he could get out of the city situation because of this promoter just clamping down on him. So don't piss off promoters, kids.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest, best story I have. Yeah.
That's a crazy one. I didn't see the Beach Boys in Chicago in 1989 in Toronto.
Oh,
An
yeah.
outdoor concert where they played like an hour each, and then they did an hour together.
Oh, nice.
and they just took turns playing each other's songs. It was super cool at the
Yeah.
outdoor exhibition when the fair was out there. When I just moved there that summer, so it was really cool. We
Oh,
only have about
nice.
5 minutes left. Is there anything else in your what you're currently doing you want to talk about or anything like that? I do see that Lowdown has a reunion concert coming this
That's
September.
right. Well, yeah, we did one about a year and a half ago, and it went really well. People were awfully excited about it, and we were already sold out for this one.
Oh wow.
So that's pretty cool. People remember, and yeah, it's great to get together with the guys and do that because we really bonded in that band, Ted and Brian and I. We had a very special thing going on, and it's great to be back together with them. It's like nothing else. It really is, and the singing's great. The guys are great, so it'll be fun to do it again. But Ted, our bass player, is 81. So I don't know how many more dates he's going to do, though he's in fantastic health and he looks after himself and does all kinds of sports and everything else. But once you get to 81, you might not want to play anymore. I don't know.
Well, it's crazy. You look at the Rolling Stones; they're gonna outlive all of us.
Yeah, I think so.
The rock life somehow they survive it.
Yeah, as
But
far as me, I have an album that just came out of it's a compilation of music that I was doing in the 90s. It's on an Australian label. And it was a limited run of 500 CDs, and it's downloadable, and it's called Keep the Dream Alive. And it's a bunch of songs that never got released from different projects that I was doing at time. Like, I'd be singing demos for other songwriters and that. And a couple of the songs are really outstanding. Like the song Keep the Dream Alive is really great. It's written by Dan Hill, Dean McTaggart, who wrote a couple of hits for Amanda Marshall.
like
And
the Dean Taggart from the Arrows.
yeah, Dean
Oh,
McTaggart. Yeah, yeah, and he's really a big name songwriter. And Dave Tyson was the other songwriter and the producer of the track. And Dave Tyson is also a great songwriter. He's written for Hall and Oates, and he produced at least one Hall and Oates album and a few other big name albums as well. So that song alone is kind of worth the price of admission. It's a really great anthemic rock tune of the early 90s. And there's a lot of other good material on it. And that song was on the top of the charts in Europe there or that album was just a couple of months ago. So it did really well, but it's a limited run, 500 CDs, and they're sold out. So yeah,
no, not too bad.
you can check
Sounds like
it
something
out.
I need to get a hold of.
Yeah,
And so
it's
we
a
said
good
that song, Dan Hill, like the '80s balladeer Dan Hill as well.
yeah, yeah,
Wow, interesting.
yeah.
I actually just emailed Dean like 3 days ago on Facebook trying to get a hold of him to talk about the Arrows.
Oh, I'm sure
Um,
you'd be glad to. Yeah.
but yeah. Well, I hope I'm gonna download this new album of yours and listen to it since I can't buy it apparently.
If
Um,
you can't find it, let me know and I'll connect you. Yeah.
yeah, I also want to listen to these blues albums too. I mean, they sound
Yeah.
interesting.
I've got to post more stuff. I don't have everything posted on streaming services or YouTube or whatever. It's I'm pretty slack about getting stuff out there, but you've given me a reason to do it now.
Well, that's awesome. I really enjoyed our chat. Really love your music in the different bands you've been in. Seadog, of course, and Lowdown, and then all the stuff we talked about today, and your new stuff
Yeah.
with Beatles and Blue. And I see you have tours coming up, doing the Rod Stewart stuff, some Beatles and
Oh
Blue
yeah.
stuff. So you're keeping busy. So
Yeah.
hopefully I get to Ontario sometime again, so I can see one of these shows live.
Oh, that
Um,
would be great.
Way
Yeah.
out
I'd
west
love
here,
to.
I live in Lloydminster, and we get lots of these we have ABBA coming, a fake ABBA, I got ABBA band coming
Yeah.
and somebody else coming. So we get lots of those type of shows in Lloyd. We're just not big enough for the you know big bands. We're real things. I'm 2.5 hours from Edmonton, 2.5 hours from Saskatoon. So
Yeah.
I'm going to see Blue Rodeo in a couple months. That's my next concert.
Nice.
So
Well, I've been to Lloydminster. Actually, I have a really famous to me picture of Seadog when it's a funny coincidence of a bunch of things. I'll try and make it a short story. Uh, the bass player who later was in Lowdown had a band that was playing nightclubs, and they toured all around out west. Um, our drummer in Seadog at the time had played in that band, and he knew that Ted, the bass player's band, was playing in Lloydminster as we were out touring. And he said, let's stop in and say hi to them. So that's what we did. We stopped in and saw them at the bar or hotel, whatever they were playing at. And somebody took a picture of us sitting at the side of our van. This was in 1974. And took just a picture of us. And that's kind of like one of my most favorite pictures of Seadog. It was kind of one of my most favorite versions of the band. I'll see if I can send it to you and
Yeah, it'd be cool to see.
put it up. Yeah.
Well, if you're ever out west, definitely let me know.
Oh,
Um,
sure. I could be out there sometime with the Rod Stewart. I work with the British Legends show quite a bit, which is a group of British tribute guys like a Mick Jagger and a Freddie Mercury and that.
oh yeah.
And sometimes we're out in your area, not every now and then. So it
Well, I'll
could
keep
happen.
checking, and if you know you're in the area, let me know, and I'll definitely come out and buy you a drink and come watch the show.
Well, that'd be fun. We'll get you some comps and get you into the show for free.
Well, that'd be awesome. Well, thanks again. Uh, have a great rest of the day, and we'll chat soon.
I look forward to it, Dwayne, and thanks for the opportunity to talk. I love to dig up all this old stuff and shoot the breeze with you. It's really been fun.
I just love hearing stories of when music was real music and so forth. And they wrote
Um,
their own songs, played their own music, and so
Kind of like
forth.
the Wild West.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thanks again. Have a great day.
Good times. Thanks, Dwayne. Bye bye now.
Thanks.